I do that every single time. I give up. Okay. And it's still there. It's still there. Okay, yeah. So this is what I'm doing on the live. Okay. All right. So there it is. Hi, Deanne Battle. This is the Composite. We're a talk show of sorts. And we're going into season 4. So this is season 4, episode 1. And I just should embrace my awkwardness completely fully, because as much as I try to pull this off seamlessly, it's not going to happen, right? So we've got lip gloss. And then, oh, fun fact. Let me show you a little something. Look very closely at that envelope, all right? Now look back at me. I did notes. You know, I knew what I wanted to discuss today, but I did notes. And then the notes blew away, all right? So, I mean, I kind of remember what I wrote, but I can't win for losing, so here I am. All right, so season 4, episode 1. I think I wrapped up season 3 almost 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So, what have I been up to since then? I want to call it spiritual initiation, because that's what it feels like. Let me explain a little bit more. So, sold my car, right? But, you know, before the end of the semester, I still have to get back and forth to work. And so I'm covering a colleague's classes, and, you know, I'm like, okay, well, you know, the schedules actually, I will say the bus and train schedules do look better than they initially looked when I first moved into this area. So I don't know if anything's changed, or if, you know, my mindset and desperation have changed. Oh, who knows? But anywho, I was like, okay, but, you know, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, let's get after it. Let's do it. And so I've just been realizing, oh snap, I haven't been on public transportation in almost, I want to say 8 or 9 years, on a consistent basis at least. And so I would have to say, like, I would say like the last couple of weeks, yeah, there have been elements that have been a little overwhelming, because it's just kind of like, I don't know where the bus stops are, you know, because it's like when you're going somewhere and coming back, right? Sometimes the bus stop is across the street in the opposite direction, but a lot of times it's not. And so I've just been like running around, or just realizing, oh yes, these 2 buses have the same number, but they're going to different locations, and just doing all that type of stuff. And I've just been like, oh my God, this really is terrible, you know? You know, and the first day especially, it was just kind of like, you know, because when you're in your car, you're not paying attention to how you conduct yourself, right? And so, you know, all of my resting bitch face, and, you know, the way I mumble under my breath and all of that belligerent behavior that I'm known and somewhat loved for, but I'm able to keep contained because it's usually in a vehicle. Oh no, that is out loud and proud. And so I just am having to be more mindful, like, okay, Deanne, like, watch what types of faces that you're making and all of this. So I've been walking around on public transportation for the last 2 weeks like this. All right, and I'm probably going to be like this for the rest of the episode, because the sun is sunning, but I don't want to go inside. I want sunlight on the broadcast, metaphorically and literally. All right, so yeah, I'm walking around the city like this, you know, for a little bit of protection almost, right? Because it's just, I haven't been this close to people outside of work in a long time, you know, or just even like this, you know, this guy walked over to me and he went, "You look good." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." But it was just the fact that he was able to get, like, I don't know, right here, somewhere over here, it was greater than 6 inches away from me, but definitely less than a foot away from me. So somewhere in the 7 to 12 inch range. And I was just kind of like, whoa. And he just popped in and he popped back out and kept walking. And then, a bus driver, he joked about kidnapping me, but he told me I look like I eat at Whole Foods. So he was just like, yeah, that might be expensive. And I was just like, oh, wow. Oh, that joke went somewhere I didn't expect. But okay. But I'm, back out and around. I'm engaging again. I'm being more mindful of how I present myself when I engage. So I think that that's all positive. But the spiritual initiation part is when you're traveling on public transportation in 3 different states and you have delays in each different states. And so that definitely happened to me on Monday. I definitely had delays yesterday morning coming in, and then Wednesday morning coming and going. So I was just not happy, and I was more belligerent than usual. But I'm just in this season of my life where I'm like, okay, when you have these pity parties, Deanne, no one's coming to those cookouts. So let's flip this. How can I find a different way to look at this? And then, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube videos while I'm traveling, just to occupy my mind, pass the time, so to speak. I bring books to read and stuff, but I get lost when I'm reading. And I'm so afraid that I'm going to miss a stop. Because I definitely did that one day. I was reading something and I missed my stop by a lot. So I just have to be careful how I read and where and when I read. I'm just like somewhere else. But anywho, I do bring books. But so for the time being, like if I have a podcast in one ear or a YouTube video in one ear, I can usually, dip in and dip out pretty quickly in terms of paying attention. But one thing that was coming up in a lot of the videos was this concept of spiritual initiation, right? That, if you're in a season, excuse me, it's just getting hot out here, and I did want to be outside. But if you're in a season, right, where things are not going well, or they're not going the way that you want them to, right? The tendency might be to have a woe is me, like why is this happening to me outlook. But what if there's a bigger purpose for why you're being placed in these situations, why you're being placed in this season? And so I've been thinking really hard about that. I'm not gonna front, like I don't know why yet, but I think whatever this is, I'm like getting to the end of it. And I think and closing out the semester, getting a new place squared away. And then I had a couple of leads come in too, so that's helped me, reframe my mindset. But it's not that I'm one of these good vibes only people, because I just always feel that people that adapt that outlook are sometimes the most problematic people in terms of like toxic positivity, or because I only want good vibes. If you're in a season where you're struggling, oh, I can't be with you or I can't support you because good vibes only. And it's just like this abdication of care, in terms of the people who are in your lives, and the people that you love. And I just realized I'm on the wrong station here. I'm on the wrong Instagram. I'm so goofy. I don't know why I'm like this. With more lipstick on the teeth, I can't be smooth. I just can't pull it off. I don't know. But So I'll stay on the wrong station and then I'll post it to the other station. But what was I saying? Yes. So if you're having a difficult season, right? Like, how can you mine that? If you're an artist like me for material, how can you mine that for some strategy and for some action points and stuff? And one thing I keep hearing is people are like, oh, well, you know, if you're in a difficult season, think about meditating and I've had family members and friends suggest meditating. And I've done it before. I had a tech job for almost 5 years and I hated every second of it. And just toward the end, I was crying every single day before I went to that job. And then some mornings, because my stomach, like if I'm anxious, like my stomach will get upset. And sometimes, like on some jobs, I would like throw up before going into work because I was just so nervous and just didn't want to be there. And so I was having one of those seasons and I started meditating. And I did it for almost, I want to say 4 months. Like every day during lunch, I would leave like 10-15 minutes at the end of lunch to go meditate. And I mean, and my job was just mind numbing anyway. I usually finished most of my work in the morning, so I didn't really have much to do. And so what I realized is that my resistance to meditation was my resistance to journaling. It's just, so even though I tend to live in my head a lot, I don't necessarily like dialing into my own frequency there, if that makes sense. Like, I like to dial into my frequency and use it when I'm teaching, working with students, dial into my frequency, use it when I'm writing. But just to sit with everything that's happening and bopping around up here is just kind of like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you want to meditate? I don't know what the answer to that is yet, but I'm going to try. And we'll see what happens. But this concept that I've been hearing in the last week, especially on the trains and on the buses that I'm taking, and people are talking about spiritual initiation. And the idea, if I'm understanding it correctly, is the divine to a certain extent needs to haze you a bit. And when I'm phrasing it that way, I feel like I've talked about this concept before. So if I have, I'm sorry. But anywho, actually, let me do this. Yeah, I really messed this up because now it looks like I just didn't do the show because I did it on the wrong station. Because my personal Instagram is private. My bad. Anywho. But so the concept of spiritual initiation, my understanding of it is that we ask the universe for certain things, right? And whether we dream small or if you're more ambitious, if you dream big, you have to be frequencies again. You have to be at a certain frequency to be able to receive those gifts. And if I'm honest, yes, the things that I want out of life, I was probably not at the correct frequency to receive those. Now, it's painful to admit that. And it's painful to be like, oh man, my shit wasn't upgraded enough. But what I'm hoping is that at the end of whatever this is, this current bout of struggle and strife, that what I'll get to is at the beginnings of the life that I want to put together, but then also the level of appreciation because I'm going through this, commuting now 5 and one day 6 hours either way. In this last month of work. And that sounds very love and light, but on a daily basis, no, it's not. On a daily basis, it's like, okay, listen, I know I can have a tall boy on this damn New Jersey Transit, and I'm definitely going to do that because I'm going through it. It's, it's tears, it's frustration, but it's, what I'm noticing is my recovery is a lot quicker, right? Like, even being able to be in a good mood, be in front of the phone here, be in front of the camera here. Sorry, the dog is not feeling being outside anymore, so I gotta let her back in. There you go, sweets. Yeah, she has more sense than me. Okay, so, but, ow. Don't want to fall off the stool. But what I'm hoping is that, like, being committed to the process and working through it, again, will yield good dividends. What would it mean thinking about moments like this after I've published my 4th book and being like, yes, shit is going decently to amazingly now, but shit was pretty thick, however many years ago. And I just try to keep that in mind. But for anyone that is having, a difficult season, I'm totally right there with you. And it's just a day by day. It's a day by day. But I have become more reflective, right? In terms of spiritual initiation, thinking about the things that trigger me, the things that give me setbacks. Some of the responses that people have had to me when I've been commuting, they haven't necessarily been negative, but they have been a little unsettling, especially from men, right? I think as I get older, I realize, like, sometimes guys, if they're nervous, there can sometimes be these verbal tics, if that makes any sense, and they might say something off-putting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're malicious in intent. So 2 things about that. One, that doesn't change how it lands, right? Because intent and impact, especially if you're an educator, this whole spiel, are different things. Like how something lands on someone and what you mean by it, those are different things. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it makes me even more curious about how gendered socialization is, because I feel part of me over the years silencing myself is just this awareness of, as a woman, how my presence should be nurturing and just, not to antagonize people, to be agreeable, so on and so forth. And the ways in which this is overtly and covertly ingrained. And I think in most of us, especially if, I'm talking about specifically American society. So that's the second thing. What was the third thing? So yeah, I can tell they don't necessarily mean anything bad by it. I'm wondering too how they're socialized. And the third thing is what awareness within me. And I've mentioned this before, that I used to be much, much heavier than I am now. I still, in total, I lost like 160 something pounds. And I've kept 130 of it off. At least, sometimes between 130, I would say, and 140 of it off, for the past like 6 or 7 years. So, just being more active, and most of all being more cognizant of how I eat and what I eat, right? And so I'm going to tie the weight to the spiritual initiation in a second here. So the first thing is, let me stop using numbers because that's confusing. Sorry. So I think losing the weight was a beginning of peeling all of this back, right? Because you think about, well, why do you eat? Why do you eat? So recently I realized, I'm not a stress eater. I'm a grief eater, right? Because I've been stressed out recently quite a bit. And I've noticed I really haven't had an appetite. All right, so if you're grief eating, well, what are you sad about, right? So that's the part, okay, spiritual initiation, thinking about how I'm relating in the world. And so what I realized, because I had this one interaction, I won't go into it because it's like work related, but it just was unsettling to me. And I'm like, okay, if part of me knows like, okay, the person didn't necessarily mean it that way, then why is it hitting me that way? And then I realized, oh, one of the reasons I was carrying on so much of that weight is as protection. Like, I don't want you to interface with me in ways that make me feel uncomfortable. So I would rather be invisible than be uncomfortable. And so thinking about, again, I'm all in my head and in my feels because I'm commuting these long distances, but I'm commuting these long distances and I'm having these really profound moments like, oh shit, yes, I had metabolic issues and underlying, I wasn't diabetic, but I just, the prognosis is not good. I've got it on both sides. But anyway, thinking about all of that, yes, that was all a part of it. And on the emotional part of it, it was sunglasses. It was like, I don't really want you looking at me and seeing into me because I don't know if you're safe. I don't know if I'm going to want to engage with you. So I would rather have you not see me. And what's been abundantly clear in the last 2 weeks now of commuting is I'm not hiding from anybody. Even with this get up or whatever, everyone sees me in the world. And I have to be okay with that, right? Because I want to be in the world. I want to be out and about, but it's just who's safe and who isn't. And I felt like, or I'm feeling as I process this, that to a certain extent, the weight made it so I did not have to deal with that. That I was able to decide, if that makes more sense, when I wanted to engage with people and how I wanted to engage with people. Because my obese frame was, I want to say abject. I'm not sure if that's the correct term. It was off-putting, let's say. My obesity was off-putting to a majority of people that I was interacting with. And because it was off-putting, it allowed me to then be invisible. So then if I wanted to push myself forward into someone's frame of view, I could. But if I didn't want to, I didn't have to. And, being substantially lighter, it's a different ball game because, again, the guy was like, you look good. You know that, that's taking you somewhere else, right? And am I offended that he said that? No. But then, right, he's broken my frame. So I have to decide, okay, do I come up with another crutch to like get me through so I don't have to engage? Or do I do the harder thing and figure out why I'm afraid to engage? So that's the spiritual initiation part, because nobody is making me sign up to do this personal work, but I'm doing it because the shit I've been doing doesn't work. See, it doesn't work. So I have to find a different way to navigate this situation called life. And it's hard and it's brutal, partially because I tend not to be the most forgiving with myself. But another part of it is just, having that level of honesty. Like, okay, so you're not fooling anyone but yourself. All right, well, I guess there's nowhere to go from there but up, or some other aphorism you can throw in there. But again, at the end of that initiation, what I'm hoping is to have enough discernment and self-possession to articulate my boundaries more clearly, right? Because maybe part of it is, oh, I don't want to have a conversation with a person about, no, don't be less than 12 inches away from me. I don't want that, right? Why don't I want to have that conversation? I'm conflict averse, right? I want people to think I'm a nice person. I'm not a nice person. I try to be, but I'm not. And I've really expended a lot of energy into that narrative. And I mean, to be honest, I have better shit to do. I have different stories to tell, and I want to get on that page and do that work. And so, yeah, spiritual initiation and all that jazz. That's the type of stuff I'm thinking about. So now I did want to run cards today. All right. My apologies if this is too bright. I suspect I'm going to have to go in soon. Okay. So, if you've seen me in this format before, right, you know that I've developed during the pandemic a healthy interest in tarot, right, as a way to disrupt my thought patterns, I would say, more than anything else, giving me different things to think about, right, as I analyze myself, where I am with my life and everything, and where I want to go. All right. And so the question on my mind is that, like, as a collective, how might we handle spiritual initiation or advice around that? Okay. So let me formulate the question a little more clearly. How do we, right, as a collective, how might we not deal with what are some gentle ways for us to manage spiritual initiation? All right, that's the question, right? A gentle way to manage spiritual initiation. Shuffle twice, 3 times. Gentle ways to manage spiritual initiation. Gentle ways to handle spiritual initiation. One more shuffle. All right, and then I'll cut the cards. All right, gentle ways. So, spirit guides, ancestors, and Orisha, what are some advice about gentle ways to handle spiritual initiation? Okay, got one card. Just a sec. All right, I will just like pull 3 cards and then I'll show them, and then after that, if I need to clarify any of the cards, I will. All right. All right. Some gentle ways. Oh. All right. Thank you. 2 cards and 1 more card. All right. Gentle ways to manage spiritual initiation. Gentle ways to manage spiritual initiation. Hopefully I don't get a strike for somebody else's music. Okay, 1 more card. All right. Oh, wow. Thank you. Okay. So, now I've been doing these mini type readings on the show for a few episodes now. I want to say maybe 6 to 10 episodes actually. And it's just so wonderful the ways in which the universe, the divine has really been participating in this. But anywho, these are the 3 cards that we got, right? So I don't know if you can see them because of the sun. Like I said, I'm going to be wrapping up soon just because it's like super hot out here now. All right. But the first card is the 2 of Wands, right? Second card is the 10 of Cups, if you can see that. And the goodness. Last card here is, sweating now too. The last card is the 6 of Pentacles. All right, so we'll start here. 2 of Wands is about, my understanding is about planning, but planning with like an expansive mindset, right? You're strategizing. So this character here is holding a globe. You're strategizing to really kind of create your world. And so that's the 2 of Cups. All right. The 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups is like the ultimate fulfillment of love and family and happiness. And then here, this last one, the 6 of Pentacles, is like generosity, but like a reciprocal give and take. So how might I read these together? So if we're thinking about advice in terms of gently managing your spiritual initiations, right? When you're going through those seasons that just seem like endless, like you don't, know when you're going to catch a break next. It's saying, oh, okay. Wow, thank you so much. God is so good to me. All right, so here's what I think it's saying. I think it's saying plan with love in your heart, right? So you're really planning, you're creating your world here, right? With the ultimate goal of love in your heart, right? And so that's, for some people, that does look like, family, including a partner and kids. But for some people, it's just that love of completion within yourself. Or if you're an artist, right, that love, that passion, well, not passion, passion's more wands, but your deep emotion and affection for your work, for your creativity. And then, so this last one here, right, the give and take part of it, the way I'm reading that is, so if you're going through these seasons of spiritual initiation and you're planning with love in your heart, right, that there's going to be a give and take. There's going to be a push and pull. I read that as a push and pull with the actual universe. I'm going to actually pull a clarifying card for that. But so from a numerological standpoint, we end up here with 18. And 18 reduces to 9, right? Why is 9 important? Because my understanding is, right, 10 is a number of completion. So if this breaks down to 9, folks, that means we're almost there, right? And then notice, right, the 10 of Cups is a 10. So there's something about, right, being close to that precipice where you really have to plan with that love and intention within yourself, with a spirit of generosity. All right, let's see here. Can we clarify that 6 of Pentacles, please? Clarify the 6 of Pentacles. Oh, okay. So the reason I just made an audible noise is I pulled the Chariot, right, which is an 8 number here. So I pulled the Chariot, and the Chariot is a card of determined action, right, moving toward victory. So here, if we have a reciprocal generosity, a give and take, clarified by a march, if you will, or ride toward victory, toward destiny, that means that that's coming in, right? So I would make, ooh, sorry, it's hot. I'm just gonna read a couple poems after this and then go inside. I'm gonna be a crispy fritter here. All right, so I'm gonna actually modify how I'm reading this, because to me now, what this looks like it's saying, okay, so these three cards together and this clarifier down here, it feels more, oops, like what's being said is you're planning ahead, right, with loving intention, right? And then the universe is going to reciprocate with you and bring in what you're looking for, right? So maybe what we're being told then is these seasons of spiritual initiation are a good time to get ready, so you don't wait, to stay ready. Oh, see, I'm just messing everything up today. I can't take it. To stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right? So if you're having a tough time, keep planning ahead. Think about like that ultimate fulfillment, that ultimate pinnacle for you, and let that warm you, right, as you're planning, because the universe is going to bring it to you, right? Our ancestors, our spirit guides, the divine is generous. It's coming. It's just, yeah, everybody hurts. And so it's just your turn to hurt right now. And I hope you get through it, okay? Now, I was a good little host, and I had my poems here ready before I went live, okay? So I will read these two poems, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, I'm back temporarily. All right, so if you were watching the broadcast previously, and when I post it and you see something janky, and now you see the dog, my phone died because it was so hot outside, so I had to come inside. All right, so yeah, we looked at some cards. Excuse me. Ooh, it's hot. We looked at some cards. Yeah, I finally, after months and months, after damn near 5 months, I pulled together my little ducats here and got a retightening. And you'll see I have low density hair, so my parts are pretty big. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like to get a retightening, every 6 weeks exactly, because I don't have that much hair. It's just like it can look a little fuzzy at the roots and give me a little oomph. But anyway, it was nice to groom. Yeah, good stuff. But talked about spiritual initiation. We looked at cards. All right, so I wanted to wrap up with 2 poems and then ski-daddle. All right. All right. And we'll be at probably about 45 minutes or so. Not too bad for season 4. And then while I'm thinking about it, here's some stuff that's coming up. I'm going to be reading a bit more of my work here, because one thing I mentioned in season 3 is that, as a writer, you have to be able to give readings, and I'm not really great at that. I get really nervous. And so I think, because this is more an experimental thing that I'm doing, I don't really have the viewership like that. I think I can experiment with that part of it here, doing a reading. And so that's going to come down the pike, most likely episode 3. And then I've got a potential interview lined up for episode 4 or 5. So we just need to hash out details. I'm hoping that will work out, but we'll see. But yeah, all of that being said, I want to push this format a bit in terms of what I'm offering in this space, other than just anecdotal stories and whatnot. All right? But now here's our poetry. So it's Nikki Giovanni's birthday. I believe she's 81 today. What a treasure. And so that's one of the poems here. And it's called Poem for a Lady Whose Voice I Like. Okay? So this is by Nikki Giovanni. Apologies, the air conditioning is going for obvious reasons. It's so hot, y'all. Poem for a lady whose voice I like. So, he said, you ain't got no talent. If you didn't have a face, you wouldn't be nobody. And she said, God created heaven and earth and all that's black within them. So, he said, you ain't really no hot shit. They tell me plenty sisters I'm not getting the cadence of it right. I really want to do her justice. Let me start over. Poem for a lady whose voice I like. So, he said, you ain't got no talent. If you didn't have a face, you wouldn't be nobody. And she said, God created heaven and earth and all that's black within them. So, he said, you ain't really no hot shit. They tell me plenty sisters take care, better business than you. And she said, on the third day, he made chitlins and all good things to eat and said, that's good. So, he said, if the white folks hadn't been under your skirt and giving you the big play, you'd have had come on uptown like everybody else. And she replied, then he took a big black greasy rib from Adam and said, we will call this woman and her name will be Sapphire and she will be divided into 4 parts that Simone may sing a song. And he said, you pretty full of yourself, ain't you? So she replied, show me someone not full of herself and I'll show you a hungry person. Ooh, and that's a word for today. Yes, Nikki Giovanni. Happy birthday. And the second one here is funny because one thing, if you've watched more than one episode, especially from the end of season 2 on, a lot of times like the poems end up lining up with the things that I'm kind of talking at you about, and today is no exception. So this one here is called Oracle, and it's written by Jacqueline Johnson, and it's for Gloria Foster. So hopefully some of you know who Gloria Foster is. All right. Oracle. Neo and Morpheus are looking for you in between the in-between. You sit like any wise woman, sister, in your kitchen. Forget the walnut wood table, platter of cookies against a corner wall like some kind of altar where all truth is dispensed. No time to play with cowrie shells, tea leaves, coins, objects of performance. No time for ritual either. You stand cooking much of nothing, offering neither tea nor directions to the way. What light can you shine into brilliance of an overly lit sky? Just cookies. You offer fresh from the oven, warmed cookies. It comes down to an ordinary woman in a marshal's running suit, gently opening a doorway to the extraordinary. What Neo wants to know, you have rightly already forgotten. You tell him nothing is preordained. Okay? So, that is Nikki Giovanni and Jacqueline Johnson for you. And this is the Composite. And we're wrapping up Season 4, Episode 1. And let's see, today I might go live Sunday on the 9th. I wonder what the new Odu for this year is. I'll talk more about that next episode if you're unfamiliar. And then, so either Sunday or Monday. But if I don't see you, have a great weekend.